This weekend at noon Eastern, the Ole Miss Rebels will be hosting the Kentucky Wildcats in Oxford in a top 15 matchup. Now, I will say this matchup is one that confuses me. Maybe not confuses me, but I think it's very interesting. You have two teams, both in the SEC, one in the West with Ole Miss, one in the East with Kentucky. They're both undefeated. They're both top 15 teams. But if you take a deep dive and look into each of their schedules, they really haven't played anybody. So we have no idea what's going to happen in this matchup. Let's look at Kentucky. Sure, they're ranked number 7. They beat Florida when Florida was ranked number 12. Now, they're a little lucky to play Florida. They played in the week after they beat Utah. They jumped from unranked to number 12, Florida did. And then after Kentucky beat them, they jumped up to number 9. And then since then, Florida is 1-2. So Kentucky might be a little bit lucky of when they got to play Florida, but they still beat Florida. But then if you look at their other wins, they have wins against Miami, Ohio, Youngstown State, and barely squeaked by Northern Illinois this past weekend to beat them. They have 5 returning starters on each side of the ball, but more importantly than anything, Will Levis is back at the helm for the Wildcats, and he's a big reason why they've gotten so much preseason hype and preseason buzz. He's gotten some Heisman love as well, but he is a big reason why there's so much love around Kentucky. But let's take a look at Ole Miss. Ole Miss really hasn't played anybody at all this year. They played Troy, Central Arkansas, then they played Georgia Tech, and then right after that, Georgia Tech fired their coach. And then they barely squeaked one out this past weekend against Tulsa. So we really have nothing to go on for Ole Miss either. And it's a whole new team for Lane Kiffin. It's a team where 10 of their starters transferred in this past year. 10 brand new guys. They have 4 returning starters on their offense. Other than that, all new people on that offensive side of the ball. But when you have a team that has that many transfers, it's typically going to take you a while to get used to playing with each other. When you get guys that you've recruited, they get time in the system, they get time practicing with each other. But when these guys come in, they have to learn a new offense or new defense. They have to learn how to play with each other, how to play with these coaches. So it's going to take a little while for them to learn to play together. Now, if this game was played later in the season, I honestly would probably give Ole Miss the advantage. But it's different. It's played early. These guys still are new to playing with each other. But that really is just how Kiffin has gone about recruiting since he's been at Ole Miss. He's not a guy who looks as much at high school recruits as you'll see people like Jimbo Fisher, Steve Sarkisian, Nick Saban, really any college coach doing. He's a guy that is heavily relying on the transfer portal for recruiting, and he has been honestly doing it incredible. He's taking advantage of these new rules, but when you have 10 new guys in starting positions that just transferred in, it's going to take a little while to know what your team is, and we still don't know because of that. Now, this will also be a pretty interesting quarterback battle as well. Jackson Dart got the starting job over the offseason, and he has been all right so far. I mean, nothing incredible. He's shown flashes of good. He's shown flashes of bad, but he's young. He's a sophomore. He'll grow in. He has talent. He's thrown for 700 yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 picks. Nothing spectacular really in any of those stats, but they are 4-0, led them to 4 wins. And then when you look at Will Levis, he has thrown for 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns, which is amazing, and 4 picks. Now, you don't love the 4 picks part, but other than that, he has had an incredible year at the quarterback position. Now, he's been a lot less useful in his legs than people thought he was going to be this year, but he still has been a winner for them. He's led them to 4 wins. He's the guy that they rely on. And he, I think, is the X factor when you look at this game. The Rebels do have more of a balanced attack, though, on the offense. Their starting running back, Quinshon Judkins, is the SEC's second leading rusher right behind Rocket Sanders. He's rushed for 430 yards and 5 touchdowns. Their last game against Tulsa, the one they barely win, that was on the back of Quinshon as he rushed for almost as much as Jackson threw. He rushed for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns, basically won them that game. So they have a much more balanced attack on offense. But there is something that I still can't wrap my head around, and it is the opening line for this game. The Wildcats are the underdogs by 6.5 points. The Rebels are favored by 6.5, and ESPN has given them a 78.1% chance to win. Is there something I'm missing? Is there something I'm missing? It honestly shocks me. It really does. Yes, they're playing at home, but honestly, a 60,000 person capacity stadium in the SEC is nothing that crazy, nothing to write home about. But if Will Levis is truly as good as everybody says he is, if Kentucky's truly a top 7 team, then why are they getting 6.5 points? Yes, again, I get it's on the road, but still, their defense is better, their quarterback is better, and I expect them to win this game. But part of the reason for this line, maybe because neither of these teams have played enough talent to see how good they truly are. And that is why this game will be so interesting. That is why we truly will have to wait until 12 on Saturday to see who's going to come out of this one.